It's great seeing John dancing in the background there while that's going on. But yeah, we need to bring him on in a second. But before we get there, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where in the world you happen to be. My name is Christopher Harrison. This is Web Wednesday, the show where we bring on some really cool people to chat about all things web dev. And today, I'm thrilled to be joined yet again by Jon Galloway. It feels like we've done like a ton of content together over the years, and today he's going to be talking to us about Razor, which is a server-side component for MVC pages for setting up the UI. He's going to talk a little bit about why you might want to use it, how that syntax works, and a lot of tips and tricks to help get you started. But you didn't come here to listen to me talk about it. You came to listen to Jon talk about it. I'm working with a little bit of new software, so if things are a little bit sort of like buggy as we move around here and I like update the background real quick, I apologize for all of that. But in the meantime, Jon, thanks for coming back on again.
Yeah, this is great. I'm always happy to join.
I'm always happy to have you here. How's life? How's everything?
Things are good. It's cooling down. We got some hail here, which in San Diego is like, what is this ice falling from the sky? It was pretty crazy. So, but yeah, things are good.
Good. Yeah, for anybody who's not familiar with like the geography, San Diego is like bottom left-hand corner of the U.S. And even though it's against the water, ironically, it's very much a desert. So like that style of rain and so forth, it's just not common. You just don't see it all that often.
Yeah, not at all. And we're busy lately. We're getting ready for .NET 6 to ship in November and .NET Conf coming up, and just a lot of cool, exciting things kind of building up around that. So.
I love that. Yeah, we actually had Maria Nagaga on about, I don't know, maybe about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. What is time anymore? But we had her on introducing Minimal API, which I'm like super excited about. I'm really jazzed to see like that style of syntax make its way into .NET.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to see it just kind of simplifying and removing extra code that you don't really need, and it's like, when you look at like file new project, and it's like, do I really need 50 using statements and a namespace and all that? Can I maybe add that in as I need it? So I'm so glad for the work Maria and friends are doing on this.
I agree completely. And you also, I know, had Serverless Conf this morning. What was what is Serverless Conf, and what all did you talk about?
Yeah, well, so there's all kinds of serverless technologies going on at Microsoft and Azure. There's things like like functions and logic apps and Power Automate, and just all these ways that you can build applications and do things with computers. I like to think of my job not as a programmer, but somebody that gets things done using computers, right? And so like extra code that I don't have to write, that's extra code to debug, to worry about source control, to worry about, like maintenance, to figure out why it didn't run on a leap year, like all this weird stuff, right? And also, when you're working with all these different systems that have to integrate together, you have to worry about authentication. And now you're dealing with OAuth tokens, and how come I can't sign in, or this thing used to work last week, but now it can't connect, and all that stuff. So one of the cool things with all these serverless technologies is you can just authenticate in the system, and then off you go. So James Montemagno and I led the keynote this morning, and we talked about how we built a serverless army to run all the behind the scenes things in .NET land. So I work on the .NET community team, and we have tons of different things we do with like .NET Live TV. We have 10 live streaming shows now, and we have to deal with all the like scheduling the shows, making sure the website's updated, handling all the analytics and sending out the stats and building reports. And then we also help manage all the blog posts and all the .NET blog posts. There's all kinds of work going in and scheduling them, so they're not too many of them going out on the same day or not going out on a Friday, and coordinating and handling the review. That stuff, we used to do all that manually, and tons of pull requests and emails back and forth. So anyways, James and I have just been kind of playing with this stuff over time. And after a while, we're like, wow, we built all this cool stuff. So the Serverless Conf team contacted us and said, hey, would you be interested in keynoting? And we're like, would we? Like, we have so much cool stuff to show off. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. I also just like, it's such a good reminder about like building tools and that old chart of, the amount of time that it's going to take if you keep doing it manually. And so now you build the tool, and yeah, that first time it's going to take quite a long time, but once you have it built, then things become far easier. I also did get a kick out of you mentioning like the struggles of dealing with OAuth, because I do a couple of things with like, obviously live broadcasting and so forth. And so I've been trying to automate a few processes. And one of the things I wanted to be able to automate was going to require OAuth. And I took a look at it and I went, the ROI for this, it's not going to get there for probably about like 5 years for me to sit down and try and figure this out. So I think I'm just going to keep doing this one manually instead.
Well, so that's where we hit the sweet spot, because we started playing with doing these things using like console apps, or throwing a bunch of code at it. And then once we figured out, hey, we can orchestrate everything using like Power Automate or a Logic app, and that has all those connections. And then when we need to like run some code, okay, fine, I'll ping an Azure function, throw it a JSON blob, and it'll process it, throw it in a storage, and then like when this timer kicks off again, I'll just, so yeah, so we've got a lot of stuff on the .NET website, which I'll be showing in a bit here, and that is actually like all these background services are managed using things like Power Automate and Azure Functions.
I love that. And Power Automate is probably something we should at some point like talk about, because it's an amazingly powerful tool to string together, different activities and so forth. And there's like a bunch of different hooks to it. And you can even like add in your own little bit of code, or you could like bring in some Azure functions if you wanted to do that, and so forth. And like even going in, because I've got like a couple of different DevOps boards that I need to go in and update, and like different default values that need to be put into places and so forth. And now I've got some of that's automated using Power Automate. And it took me about like 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes to actually figure it out. And now that it's done, I never have to worry about it again. So it's just taking care of that task. It's saving me the bit of time. But also, if you're anything like me, and I know I am, that I'll frequently forget, to do little things. And so knowing that will have taken care of it for me is a huge, huge win.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. The balance of like how much work I have to do, how much code I have to write, et cetera. If it's something I can get done like during a boring meeting, then hey, sign me up. If it's staying up till 2 debugging, why isn't this thing running? Maybe not. So
right. And really, aren't all meetings boring?
I mean, I'm not going to tell you whether or not I'm tweaking my Power Apps right now, but
wow. All right.